a very good afternoon and welcome to the News International Edition on this 11th day of September 2023. We are coming to you live from our Vision Group headquarters here in Kampala, Uganda. I'm Emma Akwero. Let's start today from Morocco, where ordinary citizens are stepping in to do their bit for victims of the deadly earthquake after some complained that authorities were slow to act. The quake has killed at least 2,122 people, injured more than 2,400 others, and flattened very many villages.
The earthquake killed at least 2,122 people, injured more than 2,400 others, and flattened entire villages. In a suburb of Marrakesh, a line of small trucks formed outside a supermarket to be filled with 10-kilogram bags of flour, water, milk, fruit juice and other food bought by residents and delivered in overflowing carts. Groups including Draw a Smile and Lions International have already stepped in to help the victims in the devastated villages. The huge earthquake which hit Morocco has killed more than 2,000 people and injured at least another 2,000, many of them critically. The authorities were still mobilizing to step up rescue operations and to evacuate more of the injured. The 6.8 magnitude earthquake struck late on Friday in a mountainous area 72 kilometers southwest of the tourist city of Marrakesh, the deadliest quake in Morocco for decades. The authorities have declared 3 days of national mourning as rescue teams continue the search for the survivors. The Morocco football team joined efforts to save lives by donating blood. Hospitals are overwhelmed by the number of people injured in the quake, with more expected to be brought in as rescue efforts continue. Team has been praised for their patriotism and show of solidarity.
On a une grande pensée pour toutes les personnes décédées. Allah yarhamhum, c'est vraiment un deuil national اليوم.
Using heavy equipment and even their bare hands, rescuers have stepped up efforts to find survivors of the devastating earthquake. Amid the debris, civilian rescuers and members of Morocco's armed forces searched for survivors and the bodies of the dead. According to Moroccan public television, more than 18,000 families have been affected by the quake. Foreign rescuers have also stepped in to help. Spain's defense ministry said an A400 airlifter took off from Zaragoza with 56 rescuers and 4 such dogs headed for Marrakesh to help in the search and rescue of survivors. French President Emmanuel Macron said his country has mobilized all technical and security teams to be able to intervene when the Moroccan authorities deem it useful. Macron, along with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the heads of the World Bank, International Monetary Fund, the African Union and the European Commission, also pledged in a joint statement to mobilize technical and financial tools and assistance to help the people of Morocco.
Before I begin, I want to express my sadness by the loss of life and devastation caused by the earthquake in Morocco. Our thoughts and prayers with the people of Morocco and my friend King Mohammed VI, I should say, and my administration, including Secretary of State Blinken, who's here with me today, is working with Moroccan officials on long distance here. We're working expeditiously to ensure American citizens in Morocco are safe, standing ready to provide any necessary assistance to the Moroccan people as well.
The United States said it also had search and rescue teams ready to deploy, and Pope Francis on Sunday again expressed support for those affected by the disaster.
Devastante terremoto. Prego per I feriti, per coloro che hanno perso la vita, tanti, e per I loro familiari. Ringrazio I soccorritori e quanto si stanno adoperando per alleviare le sofferenze della gente. Il concreto aiuto di tutti possa sostenere la popolazione in questo tragico momento. Siamo vicini al popolo di Marocco.
Algeria, which has long had tense relations with neighboring Morocco, opened its airspace, which had been closed for 2 years, to flights carrying humanitarian aid and evacuating the injured. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, whose country in 2020 established ties with Morocco, offered to send search and rescue teams, declaring that Israel stands by Morocco in its difficult time. The Red Cross warned it could take years to repair the damage. The quake was the deadliest in Morocco since a 1960 earthquake destroyed Agadir, killing more than 12,000 people.
Very sad there indeed. We'll be bringing you any updates as they come in. Now, at least 46 people have been killed and dozens injured yesterday at a Khartoum market. It has been described as one of the deadliest single attacks in Sudan's nearly 5 months of war. The bombing in the South Sudan's capital came after a week after another airstrike also struck in southern Khartoum and killed 20 civilians. We have details of this.
The number of victims in Sunday's market massacre is now at 46, according to the local resistance committee, one of the many groups that used to organize pro-democracy protests and now provide assistance during the war. The hospital had issued an urgent appeal for all medical professionals in the area to come and help treat the increasing number of injured people arriving. A conservative estimate from the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project says nearly 7,500 people have been killed in the war that began on the 15th of April between Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and his former deputy Mohammed Hamdan Daglo, who commands the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. In early July, an airstrike on a residential area of Omdurman, Khartoum's sister city, killed around 24 people and drew condemnation from the United Nations. The armed forces control the skies over Khartoum while RSF fighters continue to dominate the city's streets. The army has been accused of repeated indiscriminate shelling of the residential areas where the paramilitaries have embedded themselves, including by evicting families and taking over homes.
Holding our trucks now for the 10,000, 20,000 as per UNHCR and the government's figures that may have crossed already the border from Sudan to Chad. It's extremely important. We have already, prior to that crisis, 400,000 Sudanese refugees on that border that we were supporting. It's extremely urgent because in 6 to 8 weeks, we will never be able to reach those places because of the rains.
In addition to the capital, fighting has been mainly concentrated in western region of Darfur. Western countries have accused the RSF and allied militias of killing based on ethnicity in Darfur. The International Criminal Court has opened a new probe into alleged war crimes. After months of combat, neither side has been able to seize a decisive advantage. UN data shows that around 2.8 million people have fled the Sudanese capital, whose pre-war population was around 5 million. Those who cannot or refuse to leave Khartoum remain trapped by airstrikes, artillery fire, and street battles, forced to ration water and electricity. A total of more than 5 million people have been forced to flee their homes in Sudan. In the early months of the war, truces brokered by the United States and Saudi Arabia were systematically violated before the two mediators adjourned talks in June. Recent moves by Burhan, including trips to Egypt, South Sudan and Qatar, signaled a potential return to diplomacy, although both he and Daglo continue to trade hostile statements.
25 سنة احنا صابرين الله أكبر وساكتين.
Now from Brazil, a bird that eats and poos coffee beans is boosting incomes. The coffee from the bird's excrement sells highly in terms of exports. Coffee farmers highly respect and protect the jackass birds that have become the cash cow in Brazil.
In Brazil, the proverbial goose that lays the golden egg is in reality something closer to a pheasant that excretes coffee beans. At the Camochim coffee farm, deep in the bucolic hills of Espírito Santo state in Brazil's southeast, Jacous, a type of pheasant native to tropical forests there, are considered some of the most astute pickers or rather eaters of coffee cherries. He chooses the best fruits, the ripest. He then excretes them in poo to create this version of coffee, says worker Agnael Costa as he delicately scoops up droppings left behind by one of the birds between two tree trunks. What goes in as ripe cherries come out as beans, which can go on to be sold as some of the most delicious and expensive coffee in the world. The coffee at Comachim grows in the middle of the lush forest, and the jacous here are wild, eating and defecating at their own pace.
Olha o café deste jeito, isso aqui parece preto. Claro, primeiro a gente colheu aqui na.
It was this agroforestry system that created the necessary conditions for this exotic coffee to exist. It is naturally expensive. There is no way to make a Jaco coffee at a low cost. It serves not only as a selector of the best beans, but also as a harvest alarm.
Quilo de café do Jacu, vou lá, pego a quantidade.
Domestically, Jaco coffee can sell for $100 per kilogram, a price that can rise significantly upon export. Foreign distributors include British department store Harrods. The Jaco, with its black feathers and red throat, wasn't always welcome at the farm. It was originally seen as a hungry pest feeding off precious crops. But when Sloper discovered Kopi Luwak, an expensive Indonesian coffee made with beans from Chivek excrement, he figured Jacos might make good allies in the quest to make a better brew. Kopi Luwak sometimes has a bad reputation, with farmers accused of pressing cavets, small mammals similar to weasels, into captivity to boost production. The wild jacos at Comachim, meanwhile, roam, eat and poop at their leisure. The jaco doesn't have a stomach. It has a crow. Its stomach is very fast, but this time there are other foods it has eaten, so it absorbs the sweetness and transfers to the coffee it has already eaten. It's 100% natural. The jaco is within its own natural habitat in Brazil's Atlantic forest. Linking production to the whims of a jaco's appetite is just one of the reasons it fetches such a high price. Jaco droppings look a bit like a cereal bar, with beige grains protruding from a blackish pasty mess. Once collected and dried, the beans are carefully sorted and hulled and put into a chilled room.
Depois a gente vai colocar ele secar dentro de uma.
It is naturally expensive. There is no way to make a Jaco coffee at a low cost. It serves not only as a selector of the best beans, but also as a harvest alarm. Where it eats, the coffee is ripe. Our customers are lovers of exotic products, but also those who value the idea of sustainable development.
Quantidade.
The bird also carries other advantages, both for farmers and those seeking a cheaper, if less intestinally intimate, cup of joe. While jacos help select the best coffee, there's nothing in particular about their digestive system that imparts a different taste on the beans. Their digestive process is much faster than civets or elephants, another animal whose dung is used in Thailand to produce specialty coffee. Some think the fermentation process stemming from those animals' longer digestion times imparts a better flavor on the resulting beans. The jacos have found a fan in Poliana Cristiana Prego, a 37-year-old Brazilian tourist who has come to visit Camochim. It is a delicious coffee, and the story behind its production is very original. It's a new experience for us.
Very intriguing there indeed. And finally, a US explorer trapped for more than a week deep in a Turkish cave with internal bleeding could be rescued today. Mark Dike developed stomach problems on September 2nd while exploring the depths of the Mocha cave in Turkey. Dike fell ill, sparking what organizers said was one of the longest and most complicated underground rescue operations ever mounted. An international team of rescuers, fellow explorers and medics is now trying to bring Dike to a base camp 180 meters below the surface. And that's all the international news we had for you today. We'll be back again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Thank you for watching and have a good afternoon.